who meets a crazy white man.
John Brown. No, no, please. I'm Deacon Lee.
A deacon. John Brown is the greatest abolitionist that started the Civil War.
Most people are not taught very much about John Brown because if you teach John Brown, then you are teaching that the Civil War was over slavery.
Hi, Ethan and Joshua, and welcome to Hollywood Live Extra. So glad to have you. I know we don't have a lot of time, but I've got to say, you know, America is going through a reckoning right now. And boy, the good Lord Bird is certainly a part of that. You know what, Ethan? It's almost like you were born to play this role. How would you compare it to some of the other things you've done?
You know, I tell you how I feel in my heart is there just is no comparison. A lot of ways, everything I've done in my life has felt like training for this. You know, whether there's something Shakespearean about John Brown, you know, there's a King Lear aspect to him. There's something about the humor of James McBride's writing that is so challenging. I mean, it's such a unique tone to write about such serious subject matter and do it with such wit. It's a razor's edge. So it was a dance. The whole thing was a dance, and I enjoyed every minute of it.
Well, Joshua, I've got to ask you, I mean, the character that you play is kind of a composite character. You know, it's so interesting because there's so many stories out right now about this era and about slavery, but I don't really call these slavery stories anymore. What would you call this and your character, Onion, that you play?
I don't really think it's a slavery story. I would kind of put it in the category of a Western almost. Mm-hmm. And my character, Onion, can you repeat the second part for me again, please?
Oh, no. I was just saying, you know, playing the character Onion, how do you see this role for you? And was that to you sort of a reckoning about the whole slavery era?
You know, it wasn't really a reckoning for me, at least, because my mom is always teaching me and up to date on all my history, especially my history of my ancestors and American history in general. And so it wasn't in that sense a reckoning, but the character of Onion was a very complex character to play in the fact that it was during the time of slavery. So
interesting. You know, I thought back after watching some of this, which is really quite tremendous. And I love the, you know, the log lines. Well, most of this happened, most of it's true. And yeah, this did happen. And I think about that song that I remember singing when I was growing up in grade school, you know, John Brown's body lies a moldering in the grave. And many jazz musicians have actually recorded this song. Had you ever heard this song, Joshua?
Actually, not until now. I didn't know that was a song.
What about you, Ethan? I'll bet you had heard that song.
Yeah, you know, I mean, that song is very interesting because, you know, the Daughters of the Confederacy worked really hard to try to change the words of that song to the Battle Hymn of the Republic. You know, a lot of people know that song as "My eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord," but the original lyrics were "John Brown's body lies a moldering in the grave." And you know, there's an amazing Paul Robeson sings that song so beautifully. And he's always been one of my heroes. And so I love that song.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, that's the first thing I thought about when I saw this. I've got to say that's interesting because I was looking up some stuff on John Brown, and he did say at one time that speeches, sermons, and petitions really accomplish nothing, that moral accusation is hopeless, and he saw violence as the only unfortunate necessity if slavery in the United States were to be eliminated. And I'm looking at what's going on right now. Are we right back there again in 1850? Is that really what we're looking at here, in your opinions?
Well, I know how James McBride would answer that question. You know, he's a brilliant man. He wrote this novel that our story is based on. And I think he would say that the blood has been shed and the door has been knocked down. And it's not a time, you know, John Brown accomplished more in his 6 weeks in jail by writing letters than he did with a gun. And so I think that blood did need to be shed, unfortunately. You know, even Gandhi said that the Nazis had to be stopped. You know, sometimes people will not stop and until you stop them. Sometimes that's true. And it's a horrible question to ask, but I think that we are the doorstep of change. You know, as Harriet Tubman says, the doorstep is open. We have to walk through it. And hopefully what these marches are and what's happening right now is we are marching through it, and we can't stop. And hopefully this show can be a continuing of keeping this conversation alive and alive and alive, and making it easier. The more we have it, the more comfortable we get with the conversation. And until we talk honestly with each other, you know, it's not going to change.
No, you know, that's a very good point. I have to say this because we've gone through so much. And one of my neighbors who lives right across the street from me and said to me, she's a white lady, very, very, how shall I say it, very smart, very large in this city, and I won't say her name, but she said to me, she said, you know, until white people can look at themselves and see black people, it's not going to change. And all I could say was, What would you say to that, both of you?
Well, look, human equality, unwavering human equality. I mean, what made John Brown special is he didn't see he saw us, everyone, as human beings. You know, he has a great line about someday they wanted to shame him about how he got his sons killed. What an idiot you were. You took over Harper's Ferry and you got your sons killed. You're such an idiot. And he said, you know, someday America is going to be ashamed of slavery, and they're never going to be ashamed of my boys. And until you see that we're in this together, we have, America is in this together. I don't know. I think your neighbor is right. And until you start becoming colorblind, I mean, one of the funny aspects that the show works on is how all the white people in the show don't even notice that Joshua is a boy. Right. And every black character that Joshua Onions meets recognizes this is a boy in a dress. But it's a funny joke, but it also lets you know how we don't look deeply at one another. And we often see people by, oh, a dress, oh, black, oh, Latin, oh, and then we think we know them. We don't know them. I mean, the wonderful thing about history is how different Frederick Douglass and W.E.B. Du Bois were. They were very different men, very different ideologies. We're all different. We're all human beings. And until we start taking off these stupid labels, you know, particularly white America, you know, white guilt is a very, very powerful force, and it keeps people from looking honestly. Guilt, shame, anger, you know, and it asks a tremendous amount of forgiveness from the black community to keep forgiving and keep forgiving. And it's just exhausting, and it has to change. And John Brown, one of the great things about him is he wasn't trying to, you know, people think he was trying to save another white Christian savior. You know, he wasn't trying to save black people. I mean, literally he was, but as a Christian, he was trying to save white people from their sin. You know, he didn't see African Americans as living in sin. He saw white America as living in sin. And that he was trying to open them up to their better nature.
And I think that's where we are today. I mean, that's why I'm saying it's so, this story is funny and exciting and scary as it is so poignant just for that reason. I do believe. I've got it. Joshua, you've been an athlete all your life. I mean, you're quite the incredible athlete. Did that help you out at all doing this role, playing this role? And some of the other?
Yes, it did, most definitely. Probably this role helped out the most because of how much running Onion had to do. You know, I had to do a lot of stunts and ride horses, and I would say it helped a lot.
How would you wrap this up? What would you say to people out there that are going to be watching this? Why do they need to watch this, Ethan?
Well, look, we're having this conversation. James McBride novel won the National Book Award. It's a book I love so much, and because you hear this expression, systemic racism, all the time. But if you don't look at the foundation of the way America was built, you can't see it. You don't really understand the way the cities are zoned, the way the system has been built. It's been built on a crime. And if we don't really look at it, when it's not going to change.
You did an amazing job on this. This is the role of your life. Thank you for that, Ethan. And thanks everybody for joining me on Hollywood Live today.
My name is John Brown, and I am here in the name of the man of Trinity.
The old man was nuttier than a squirrel turd.